Yeah, welcome back to the Fire and Water Cooking channel. I am Darren, and today, like I promised in my last video, I'm going to do some retort canning and just a few bags here just to kind of show you what it is. I actually made up a big batch of beef stew last night, got it all chilled down, and we're going to go ahead and retort can some of this stuff and put it away for a while. I'll be right back.
Smoking, grilling, getting hot and hotter, sous vide and chilling from fire and water.
Alright guys, like I said before in one of my other videos, says I'm going to do some retort canning, which retort canning just means we're going to use these metal bags, and these are actual metal flexible cans, and you'll see them at the store. You know, they put tuna and chicken and all kinds of stuff in them now, and they're actually make it easier for you to A, store, and A, do it, so you don't have to worry about glass breaking and the lid sealing and all that kind of stuff. It actually makes it a little bit easier to store as well, so you have to worry about the glass jars falling off the shelf and breaking and all that kind of stuff. You can actually fit more of these and store them easier. So I've got my Vac100 chamber sealer here. I have my retort capable seal bar that you can buy separately for it in there, and I've got my retort bags. I've got a few of these. These are 8-ounce bags. One of the things that I've read a bunch about on this particular type of canning is you don't want to overfill these bags. So this size bag will take 8 ounces of food. They also make some smaller ones that are 4 ounces. But when they say they take 8 ounces of food, don't try to put 10 ounces in there or 12 ounces. Because one of the things you don't want to do when you're actually pressure canning this is having it expand and blow out the sides of the seams of the bag. So 8 ounces, make sure you use a scale, digital scale here, so you can measure in the food and put exactly 8 ounces in the bag. So we're going to do that. I got some stew, like I said. I got a big pot of it, and I'm going to go ahead and can up some of these, and then we're going to cook it in the pressure cooker and make sure it's all nice and safe, and all the any kind of bacteria and anything like that is killed. But first of all, we got to get the food in the bag and get it vacuum sealed. I'll be right back. Alright guys, so the first thing you want to do when you're putting the food in these, you want to make sure you get a scale that has ounces, okay? And make sure you have something to put the food in and that you can actually put on here. Then you zero out your scale so that you're measuring exactly how much food is in there. I'm going to go ahead and show you what my stew looks like here, so you can see this was cooked up fresh last night. I chilled it. That's another thing you want to do when you're vacuum sealing in these retort bags. You don't want to put hot food in there. We are going to pressure can it and cook it in the pressure canner, so we really don't need it to be hot going in there. And what will happen if you try to vacuum seal these bags when they're hot is it will blow out the bag and come out of the bag inside the vacuum sealer. So you want to make sure you chill down any kind of food that you're going to be any kind of cooked food. Now you can do this with raw meat, and a lot of times they suggest if you're going to be doing fish or chicken, stuff that's a very light meat, you can actually put it in there raw and just cook it in the pressure canner. But any kind of beef or pork and stuff like that, they want you to go ahead and pre-cook it just to make sure that everything gets cooked up fine. Vegetables, I'm not really sure about. I think if they're fresh vegetables, you should be okay just putting them in the canner and getting them cooked in the canner. So I'm going to go ahead and load in 8 ounces of my stew. Like I said, this is cold and kind of gelled out. So like I said earlier, you want to just make sure you just put in just 8 ounces. You don't want to put anything more than that, because it can blow out the bag. So I got a little bit more than that. I'm going to try to get a little piece of meat out. See if that gets me right at 8 ounces here. There you go. Get a carrot out. All right, so I'm right there at 8 ounces. You know, I think 0.1 will be okay. So next thing I'm going to do is take the food and actually put it in the bag. So I got my retort bag, and try not to, you know, put your fingers and stuff inside the bag. Just kind of squish it together here to hold it open, and then just kind of slide, you know, using your spoon, just kind of slide the food into the bottom of the bag. Just kind of going to show you. Just kind of hold it open like that, just so you can get the spoon in there with the food. I know it doesn't seem like a whole lot of food, but then again, like I said, these are for like individual little meals. You can use several of these if you're going to be cooking up, you know, for a bunch of people. If you're taking these camping or hiking, stuff like that, this would be enough for one person as a nice little meal or snack. So once you get that in there, one of the things you also want to do is make sure you clean up the edges where you're going to be sealing. Just try to wipe it down. You want to make sure you get any kind of residue off of there, so that it doesn't affect the seal at all. All right, put that over there. All right, so I got some food in the bag. I'll take this off, put it back on. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and turn my vacuum sealer on. I already have my specialized retort seal bar in here. I'm going to go ahead and put my bag in. Make sure that it's, you know, fully across the seal bar here, so that it's going to get full contact. Make sure that everything's ready to go. I've got this set up on, let's see, yeah, I got it on program 3 on here, which for me, that's my retort times for my seal bar and cool down. So I got it all ready to go. I'm just going to go ahead and close it up and let the vacuum sealer do its job. Since the stew has been chilled, it shouldn't have any problems boiling out or anything like that. The bag is going to poof up a little bit, but then again, it's also going to poof up in the canner. And that's one of the things I'm going to show you when we put these in the canner to finish them off. What you really need to do to make sure that your bags don't blow up while they're being pressure cooked in the canner. All right, this is almost done. Getting ready to seal. Seal bar is cooling down now. All right, vacuum sealer has done its job. And there you go. We've got a nice sealed retort bag. Nothing going to open that. Just kind of show you that it's got a nice, really tight seal. There's no way we can rip that open. Now, these type of bags are notched on the bottom so that when you do want to open them, you could just pull them to open them. But I always suggest that you move the food down towards the end that you sealed it, so that when you open up your end here, your food's not just oozing out. So you can just kind of squeeze and move the food back down to the other side of the bag, and then when you put them in your pressure canner, you can have them more towards the bottom. I'm going to do a few more of these bags, and then I'm going to show you how we put them in the pressure canner. I'll be back. All right, guys, I got my last bag here. I'm going to go ahead and vacuum seal it up. Like I said, so, you know, some of you people are going to ask, well, why don't you just buy a whole bunch of Dinty Moore cans of stew? You can do that, but what if you have a special diet and you, you know, can't eat some of the stuff that's in the Dinty Moore stuff? Maybe you don't like, you know, maybe you're on a low carb diet, you don't want the potatoes, so, which pretty much I am. That's why this stew doesn't have any potatoes in it. So what if you like more meat than vegetables? You can pretty much make your own stuff, season it the way you like it, and not have to worry about what's in the pre-canned stuff. Also, this is a great way to play around with your vacuum sealer and preserve foods in other ways. So it really, once you get the equipment, if you already have a Vac100 chamber sealer, or you have a chamber sealer that will accept this seal bar, you can actually, all you have to do is spend the extra $50 for the seal bar and buy some of these retort bags, and you're canning in your chamber sealer. Pretty easy. So, all right, guys. So I got these all ready. They're ready to be put in the canner to be cooked and sterilized and all that. And I'm going to show you how to do that in just a minute. So I will be back inside when we come back. All right, guys, so the easy part's done. Getting the retort bags filled with the product, getting the vacuum sealed in our Vac100 vacuum sealer with the special retort seal bar. Now I've got my American, all-American pressure canner here, and you don't need to get this big fancy one. There's other ones that are a little bit cheaper, but make sure you follow the directions on how to do your canning here. This one doesn't have anything specific for retort, but you can just follow the glass jar. Just anywhere it says glass jar, just kind of put in retort and it'll be the same. The only thing you want to make sure you do a little bit different is, since we have to pack these a little bit tighter than glass jars would be so that the bags don't blow up, that you give it just a little bit more time. So if there's a recipe that you're following that's in your canner book, just add another 15 or 20 minutes to the cook time, just so you make sure that the heat gets transferred all the way into the middle bags. Because what I'm going to show you here is actually, this is a pretty big canner, and I've got 15 bags in there. Now, a lot of times this canner will be too big for what I'm going to, if I'm doing a small amount of bags. So I have this insert that I have, another colander that I have from another pot that actually fits right in here. So what that does, it kind of fills in some of that space so that I can put my bags in here. I ended up with 15 retort bags here. And like I said at the beginning there, or when I was doing it, make sure you squish the food down so that your opening notches here, the food is down towards where you sealed it. That way when you open it up, that the food doesn't start oozing out of the top and all that. So kind of mush your food down. And then you're going to want to put them inside your canner, and you kind of want to fold them over and stuff. It's going to fold over when you get everything in here. But like I said, you want to make sure you put these in, make sure they're packed very tight. Because what will happen once this starts cooking, the bags will start to expand, because the steam inside the bags will start to produce gas, and the bags will expand. And if they are allowed to expand too much, the seals will blow out of the sides. So what you need to do is just make sure you have enough bags in there, or you have something in there like this to make sure they don't have any room to expand out and explode. So just like I said, you want to put them in. Now you can follow the directions of your pressure canner. This says put 2 to 3 inches of water in the bottom, and it says put hot water in there. You don't have to put hot water in there. You can start with cold water if you need to. It will probably save you a little bit of time. But like I said, once you get the bags in this, then you're going to seal this up. This has a no gasket, so you put a little bit of olive oil or Vaseline around the edge here to create a seal, and then seal it up. And then we're going to go ahead and cook it. So let me fill this up with my bags. I'll show you how it's going to be, and then we'll put the top on and get it cooking. All right, guys, so you see I got all my bags in my little colander here, and they're packed pretty tight, so I don't have any fear of them blowing up. I'm going to go ahead and take just a little bit of olive oil here and just kind of put it on my finger and just run it along the edge of this canner, and that's going to give us a really good seal There's no gasket on here, like I said. It really doesn't need one, but it does require you put just a little bit of oil or lube there. Some people use Vaseline or something like that, cooking oil. So just a little olive oil around there, and you can put some on around the edge of this too if you want to. Okay, and then the top on this has to go on a certain way, and it's got a little arrow over here that points to this, so you just kind of want to make sure you get it on, make sure it's down all the way, turn it to lock it. Alright, turn it to lock it, and then we got our little hold downs. We're going to go ahead and close this up. Now, with a pressure canner, you can adjust the amount of pressure that you cook with, and this particular one has 3 settings. It has 10 pounds or 5 pounds, 10 pounds, and 15 pounds. And it goes by your altitude, what you're where you're at, where you're cooking. So usually 10 pounds is about the middle way, so that's what I'm going to use. I'm on pretty much sea level, and the higher the altitude, the higher pressure you want to use. So at sea level here, 10 pounds should be plenty. I don't know when you would use a 5 pound, when you're maybe doing certain types of food, but 10 pounds at sea level should be just fine. And you just want to make sure you get your knobs screwed down all the way so we can get a nice tight seal. And once those are tight, one of the things you want to do with these is make sure, especially if you're using a glass top stove, is not move it around too much, because this is pretty heavy. This is a big heavy beast. Once you get it set, just kind of leave it where it is, and don't mess around with it anymore, because it'll scratch up your glass countertop here, your glass stove top. All right, so once I get the heat turned on, I'm going to go ahead and turn the large burner on high, and the instructions in the pressure canner pretty much say once it steam starts coming out of the steam valve here, that's when you kind of start your timer, and you're going to have your pressure gauge here to kind of tell you what the pressure is in there. But it's going to take a few minutes for that to start to boil and get some steam in there. So once you start hearing steam come out of this and it starts kind of moving around, that's when you start your timer. Now, I'm going by a recipe for like chili that's in my canner guide here, and it says 90 minutes at 10 pounds of pressure. So I'm going to actually extend that out to right at about 120 minutes. So I'm going to add another 20 to 30 minutes onto it, just so I can make sure that the heat gets all the way into that bag, since we got them so packedly tight in there. All right, guys, once the steam starts going, I'll be back. All right, guys, my little steam weight starting to shake around. It says once it starts doing that, you can turn this down a little bit. You don't want to have it on high the whole time. And then we're going to go ahead and turn that down to about medium heat. And then I'm going to go ahead and turn my timer on to about 120 minutes there. So they're an hour and 20 minutes. That's going to give me a good enough time, I think, to get everything. Because normally they say with chili it's like 70 minutes or so. And so I'm going to go ahead and add another 10, 15 minutes here. So I'll go ahead and we do an hour and 30 minutes on here. And we'll get that. That should give us enough cooking time to get all the way through all those pouches and get everything cooked just right. All right, guys, I will see you guys back in an hour, 30 minutes. All right, guys. I let this pot cool down overnight and just kind of left it off took it off the burner that it was cooking on, and just let it sit overnight, and let it sit for a little while longer until it completely cooled down. I made sure there was no steam coming out of it, so that it was perfectly safe for me to open. So I'm going to go ahead and open it up now. I'm going to unscrew my knobs here, get this big heavy lid off. Like I said, you don't need to get one of these, big all-American heavy-duty pressure canners. If you don't want to, you can get a cheaper one, but this one just, to me, I know it's going to last me forever. So I'm going to go ahead and take these out, and you can see how my bags were kind of just sitting in this colander. Worked just fine. None of them exploded out. Still got a little bit of water left in there, just fine. And so they're not poofed up anymore. They didn't explode out. Everything looks like the seals are all well sealed, nothing leaked out. So that tells me that there's no problems at all with any of these bags. So one other thing that you might want to do when you take these out, make sure you dry them off if there's any more moisture on them. Make sure you put a label on here and label it with what's in the package and also the date that you canned it. Just so that when you stick these on the shelf, that you know the date and what's in the bag. Because you can't see in it, and there's no really place on here to write it. So I would just create some labels. Just write on here, beef stew, and the date that you actually canned it, so that you know when you got it going and how long it's going to last. So make sure you do that. And we're going to go ahead, I'm going to open one of these up just so that you can see how they work. So we got those little tear tabs. Go ahead and open one up. Like I said, this is shelf stable now, so everything's still in there. My stew looks great. I'm going to go ahead and take a bite. Tastes like cold stew. Tastes good to me. So the thing with these, you can actually store these on your shelf for a couple years, and when you're ready to eat them, you can just toss them in the sous vide or hot water of some kind, or you can just eat them right out of the bag if you don't have any way to heat them up. So there you go, guys. Retort canning beef stew works just great. Thanks for watching. Make sure you follow us on Facebook, Instagram. Make sure you follow us on the Fire and Water Cooking Podcast. Check out links below for the Retort seal bar, the Vac100 vacuum sealer, and the All-American pressure canner here that I used, and actually some retort bags if you'd like. So thanks for watching. I'll see you on the next Fire and Water Cooking video.